Hello everyone, it is I, Mark S.W. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to the third and final part of my modelling vehicle series. So for the last few weeks I've been showing you guys how to create your own model vehicles for when you want to do your own model shots. So in the first episode I did repainting, so just turning a toy car into a more realistic car. And in last week's video, I showed you guys how to use bits and pieces from other vehicles to turn it into a completely new vehicle. So I built a tunneling machine. So now for this video, I'm going to show you guys a third technique of making your own vehicle. So before I begin, do give this video a thumbs up if you're looking forward to it. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell. And also hit the join button so you can join my membership and you can have a shout out in my videos and you can have access to upcoming videos and behind the scene photos. So for this final video, the modeling style I'm going to use is scratch building. That's when you build a model entirely from scratch. When you use bits and pieces like cardboard, wood, plastic, you can use any material you like really. The vehicle I'm going to build for this video, I was thinking maybe a mini submarine, like the type that you use for exploring shipwrecks, that kind of stuff, or deep sea surveillance. Now at first I thought this could be a tricky one because most submarine designs, whether it's a normal submarine or a mini submarine, they've always got lots of curves in them. That can always be difficult to model a vehicle with lots of curves. So I was thinking with this one, maybe give it a few angles with this one. Maybe make it a hexagon shape with maybe two domes at the front and the back. So in a way, kind of like a moonmobile, but for an underwater purpose. Okay, so to build the mini submarine, I'm going to use the same technique I used when I built my Red Dwarf model. So got an older cardboard cereal box, and for the main body, which is this hexagon shaped, I've drawn it all out. You have to do a lot of measuring and do double checks as well. So one thing I do need to do before I cut it out, these little flaps here, they show you where you need to add the glue when you put it all together. And then I can add on the folding lines using a protractor and then cut it out. Nearly finished adding the folding lines on. I know some of you are probably asking, why am I making it out of cardboard when it would be better to make it out of plastic? Well, sometimes when building models with a difficult shape, it's sometimes tricky to make it out of plastic. So the idea is, this is like a sort of shell, a chassis you could say. The idea is that once I've glued it all together, I will then add a plastic sheet all over it. So I'll do the panels of the submarine individually. And now to cut it out, so I'll just cut around it. Makes it easier this way. Try and keep as much of the cardboard as you can, because it'll be useful for future buildings. There we go. So now with the folding lines, I can just bend the pieces like this. That's another thing with the plastic. If I did it on the plastic sheets, even with a gentle groove, the plastic can easily snap. So you'd have to create like support struts or a sort of thin chassis. But now, if I'm right, yeah, we'll get it in the right shot. So it folds in fine. The dimensions are correct. So now it's just a case of gluing it together, and it will take time to dry. You could use super glue, but with cardboard it's best to use PVA glue. It takes longer to dry, but it's safer that way. So now I've glued it all together, just gotta wait for it to dry. And in the meantime I can work on the plastic panels to go around the main body. Right then, I've cut the panels out. I've got these 6 here I'm about to add on. I've already added on the hexagon shapes at the front and back. You might have noticed that the panels may be a bit too big, but that's not a big problem. You can easily trim them down and then sand them, make them more smoother. Sometimes it's best for the panels to be slightly bigger. I shall add the first one on. I'll use super glue for this. PVA glue is a bit unreliable for this bit. And I'm using the glue tack and toothpick technique to help. That's 1 down, 5 to go. What I should do, after adding the third panel in place, I'll take the opportunity just to trim down the top bits. And then I'll stick the remaining 3 panels in place. Last panel going in place. Has used up a lot of glue though. Hopefully I still have some more left. So now the whole main body is covered in plastic. So the next step is to add the dome shapes to the front and the back. For this I'm going to use one of these. It's a paper ball. I could use a polystyrene ball, but in one of my model videos I mentioned that if you try and paint polystyrene without covering it in PVA glue, it will disintegrate. But this is a paper ball, and the paint will have no effect on it, it won't disintegrate. So here's one I've prepared earlier, as they say on Blue Peter. I've cut one in half, so the next step is to attach them to the front and rear of the submarine. So the paper domes are now added on to the sub, and to tell which is the front and which is the back, I've drawn on the window on one of the balls, and added that sort of little ooh. So it's meant to be a hole. I think it's meant to hold sensors and things. That's what most vehicles with things like that have. So that's going to be the front, and this will be the back. Originally I was thinking of having 4 engines, one on the sides, here and here, there. But that would have been a bit tricky, but there's enough room to put 2 cylinders to represent engines, so here's one of the pipes, so about there. Of course, sand it down so it's nice and level. And I'll also trim it a bit so it's not this long, maybe about the, make it the same length as the dome. And I have a spare long one here, which will make it easier to cut. So I think I cut about here, I think, roughly. we go. That's the engine's done. If I could do like small propellers and put them in. But I don't have any submarines or boats with this size propeller, plus it would be a bit tricky to make one, so I'm just going to leave it as it is. But the next step is to add other extra features to the submarine. So I've already found one feature. I came across one of these. This is these plastic support brackets to hold bits of models in place, but if I was to put that underneath, it would make a good like strut for the submarine, so when it's on the seabed. So that's one idea I can do. And I'm also going to have a look through all my extra bits and pieces and decorate the submarine. Right, well, I've added the extra bits onto the mini submarine and she's pretty much ready. I'll talk you through what I've done. At the front, I've added some circles which can represent as spotlights. These came from the Build Your Own Thunderbird 2 set. They were to help cover up the screws. I've got some other bits from the TB2 model set, so this sort of little cylinder dish here. And these, I think they're meant to be ladders. I thought it'd be very good for the Aquanaut to hang on to while he's getting in and out of the submarine. I've got the struts underneath, like I mentioned. And here, what I've done here, these are half cylinders, which I've then covered up the ends. The idea is they're the storage compartments for mechanical arms. So when the submarine is approaching something, the arms would come out and pick them up. I've decided not to build the arms. If I ever animate this, I'll use some CGI to do the arms. So what I'll do is I'll paint it, but I'll have a go at just marking out where the window and the OO is on the front dome. Because once it's painted, I'll have no idea where I put the window. So I'll use one of my tools just to help mark it out before I start spray painting the sub. So like the mining vehicle, I'll give the sub a spray as well of white. There's my submarine ready for painting. As you can see from the light on the table, the sun's starting to set, so I've just got time to add the paint. Trouble with the models, once you paint them, it gets even harder to hold them. And that's my mini submarine constructed and painted. Now, I admit it's a simple build, but of course it depends on how big you would want your vehicle to be in the end. If I had like maybe some propellers to put into the engines, I could have done that. Maybe going forwards at some point in the future I could make my own propellers and insert them into the engines. But overall, I don't think it's that bad. I think it's pretty good. I would love to have done like mechanical arms into where they're contained, but at this size it would be quite tricky. To be honest, with building some things from scratch, most people do use 3D software like Maya to create certain mechanisms and then 3D print them out. But but I don't have a 3D printer. I used to have a 3D construction software, but only for a trial run. It does cost a lot of money, so I need to save up for that. But of course the idea is not to build a perfect vehicle. No, the purpose of this video is to show you guys how to build a model vehicle from scratch. I hope it's given you some ideas if you want to make models for your own model shots, or if you just like doing it for fun, if you want to have like a collection of your own designs of vehicles. So just remember those three techniques. You got the repainting, where you're turning a toy into a more realistic vehicle. There's the reusing or recycling, where you're taking parts from other toys and models, combining them together to make a new vehicle. And then there's the scratch building, where you're building your models from scratch. So whichever technique you use to create your vehicles, I hope you found these videos very useful and they've given you some ideas. If they have, then do give them a thumbs up. And don't forget, if you're new, to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when I next upload a video in the future. And if you'd like a shout out or see some behind the scene photos or upcoming sneak peeks of videos, hit the join membership button. Hope you guys have enjoyed these videos. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Over and out.